Hello, I am Dave Wickham and this is Brilliant Baking, a fun documentary on how we express and show the history behind breads and cakes. Baking ranges from treats and cakes to just a warm loaf of bread sitting on a bakery shop's window. There are endless types of cakes that we can make, but there are only 3 types of bread, which consist of rye breads, flatbreads, and fruit nutty breads. Now, I don't know anything about baking bread or the different kinds of bread, so I visited my local bakery, Hobbs House Bakery, and I met with their commercial director, who is Sam Wells.
So yeah, making bread, there's lots of different elements to it, and it can be very challenging, but I would say that it's very much a sort of a senses thing, using your feel and your touch and your smell, and knowing when the dough's right and when it's mixed and when it's ready to go in the oven. So whereas a cake, you can much more easily follow a recipe and it will work. You hear about people who can always make the perfect sponge cake, and it's very simple and they generally can do it very well. Yeah. So it's probably easier to do than making bread.
Another reason why I'm actually doing a product like this, talking about the world of baking things, is that people don't realise that there's quite a lot of interesting history behind it.
Yeah.
Like, as you just mentioned, sponge cake. Do you know? I'm assuming you know about a Victoria sponge cake.
Yes.
It's a very common British tea time treat. Do you know why it's called Victoria sponge cake?
No, you enlighten me.
The reason why it's called Victoria sponge cake is because one of Queen Victoria's ladies-in-waiting, it was Anna, the Duchess of Bedford. She started, well, in fact, she actually created the whole tea time treat kind of vibe.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And Victoria sponge cake was a very common treat at the time, so everyone had it.
Yes.
But it didn't have a very commonplace name. No one really knew what to call it. They just called it a sponge cake.
Yeah.
And then word got out that after Queen Victoria's husband had died, she always had one of these whilst being at a tea party.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It was a mood lightener for her, and everyone named it Queen Victoria's sponge cake.
Right, okay, interesting. And you're right, there's lots of stories like that attached to specific products. It's amazing, isn't it, how it goes. We make a cake we call it a Sodbury cake, but many years ago, going right back to, well, probably 30, 40 years ago, it was sold as a recipe that it was the Queen Mother's favourite cake at the time, and it was a date and walnut cake. And then we started making it here just in small batches, and it proved really popular. It's a really lovely cake. It was just a sponge with date and apricot, and it had a nice double cream and butter topping, so it was quite rich. But it was always known as the Queen Mother's favourite cake, and then we adapted it slightly to make it a bit more, a bit easier to sort of have on the counter and to serve to people, because it was quite awkward to handle. And when you were cutting it into squares, it was quite difficult. So we renamed it the Sodbury cake, because obviously we're in Chipping Sodbury.
Yeah.
And it was sort of a take on it, but it became slightly legendary, and we still do it today, and people still love it. Yeah, so it's, whether that story will ever go on, when we're not around, who knows? But it is interesting, the history behind a lot of these products and where they come from.
I'm definitely going to have to get some of that for the documentary.
There we go. Yeah.
That'd be a very good addition to it. Right. So I have no further questions.
Okay.
Is there anything else you would like to add?
Well, I think what you're doing is great, and bringing to people's attention the importance of baking, and most importantly, the fun around baking. I think a lot of people take it very seriously, and I think once you take things too seriously, you kind of the joy goes out of it. And I think you just need to enjoy what you're doing. Yeah, sometimes it's going to work, sometimes it's going to be terrible. And we have off days where things don't work quite as well as they should do.
Yeah.
But obviously, the scale that we're on, we have to put things in place to make sure that, when we're doing a batch of 100 loaves, we know they're all going to work, because if they don't, then it obviously is a massive cost to us. So just get out there, do the baking, and enjoy yourself, have fun, and then obviously enjoy eating it as well.
Now, of course, I will have to say that Sam's words are a lot more reliable than mine, as I do not know anything about baking bread. However, they were kind enough to give me some free bread samples, which I will put an image here. They were actually very nice. Now, the first product on our list of delicious desserts is Victoria Sponge, a very common British treat here in England. Now, we don't actually know what the name for this treat was before it was named Victoria Sponge. It used to be a very common and very well-loved tea time treat during the Victorian era, which is actually how it got its name, as Anna, the Duchess of Bedford, and the lady-in-waiting to Queen Victoria herself, was actually the one who originally brought the trend of tea time parties and just evening teas. The Queen Victoria sponge cake was named when Queen Victoria's husband had actually died, and she was a very big fan of tea time parties and things like that. Now, she always seemed to like having this treat, this just a slice of this delicious cake, right next to her cup of tea, and she would just eat it at the tea time parties. It did, as far as we know, it did not have a name before this event. And of course, we can all agree that a good cup of tea is nice. Now, obviously, I can't interview Queen Victoria or the Duchess of Bedford, as raising the dead may not be morally correct, and it would probably be cheating to any other baking documentaries. But I did manage to at least get that interview with Hobbs House Bakery. Unfortunately, I do not have any further clips to show you about it, as the interview that I got with them was the only one I was capable of getting. There will be a nice, lovely clip of images that I was able to get at their bakery, which was very helpful, and I do thank Hobbs House Bakery for allowing me to film on their location. The next item on our list of delicious desserts is in fact Black Forest cake, which originates from the Black Forest mountainous region in Germany. However, there is a common mistake here. The Black Forest cake is not named after the Black Forest, which is in Germany. It is actually named from the liqueur, which is made from the cherries that grow in the region. Also known as... oh dear. I will leave some audio here which will say it for me, as I am pretty sure I would not be able to pronounce it.
Kirschwasser.
Now, this liqueur is distilled from the tart cherries that grow in the area. The creator of this dream for any alcoholic/chocoholic was claimed to have been a German confectioner named Josef Keller in 1915. But this has not been confirmed as a fact, so unfortunately we cannot credit him for this chocolate marvel. A typical Black Forest cake, or Black Forest gâteau, will normally have 2 layers of chocolate sponge with some cream and the Kirsch cherries sandwiched in the middle. This is then topped off with a decoration of whipped cream with the Kirsch cherries carefully placed on the top, as well as some shreds of chocolate. Now, this just dream for a chocoholic does have one catch to it, which is backed up by German law. Now, according to German law, a Black Forest cake is not legally allowed to be called a Black Forest cake unless the Kirsch liqueur, which is made from the cherries, must be added into the recipe at least somewhere for it to be legally called a Black Forest cake. The record for the world's largest Black Forest cake was set in Europa Park in Germany on the 16th of July 2006. This record was set by KU Bakery, and the cake measured at nearly 80 meters squared, and it weighed almost 3,000 kilograms. I want this cake. And there you have it. Now, cakes and treats are always inspired by events that happen in the world, such as wars and politics, but thankfully no one will ever believe that cakes are usually the cause of a war. Except for these. To me, they're cakes. Ta-ta!